Hello, Steve White, Trek White 89 for Steve Outs 89, Star Trek's alleged gatekeeper. Now, TrekMovie.com published a little article about an interview that Alex Kurtzman did on Tig Notaro's podcast, Don't Ask Tig. And there was one part he was asked about being a Star Trek fan and so forth, and he said that he was not a Star Trek fan. Well, he said he was a Star Trek fan, but not enough to call himself a Trekkie, and it wasn't until they did a deep dive research into the show before they went into the production of the movies that he fell in love with the show. And he said that he's surrounded by people who've been Trekkies since they were kids, so everyone is working towards it. So that was kind of interesting because he said very clearly in the promotion at the time that he wasn't a Star Trek fan before, and he sort of was now, but he wasn't then. He didn't say he was a fan, but just not a Trekkie. He's now made that distinction, which is a little tricky catch there. But he was a Star Wars fan, not a Star Trek fan, and that's why he was there. Him and Roberto Orci were, one was a Star Trek fan, one was a Star Wars fan, and the idea was they were going to make a Star Trek that both franchises and the general audience could watch, so they would expand the audience and have a big hit because they were just making the film, obviously, to be a mass sort of audience appeal action-adventure event, as opposed to actually making a Star Trek film and having it adhere to canon and what Star Trek is and what Star Trek fans expect. So that was interesting. The other thing he said was he was asked the differences between Star Trek and Star Wars. He said, as a fan of both franchises, whatever my response is not a knock at one or the other, because I don't feel that way. I think that the difference for me with Star Trek and Star Wars is very much about space battles and pulling out a lightsaber over almost theological differences, as represented by the Force. Star Trek is about diplomacy and war as an effort or a last result. And that's really different in terms of the way Star Wars and Star Trek stories are told. Star Trek is about science being the solution before the weapons are the solution. It's about the ingenuity of a bridge crew, be it Reno in engineering or any of the other characters figuring out a way to bring their little piece of the puzzle together so that the puzzle fits, usually in less time than anyone has to actually do it. And ultimately, I think it is always about, and this is all Roddenberry, just a fundamental optimism that the future is bright and can be bright. So that was interesting to see him distinguish the two, because he was trying in the early days to make Star Trek like Star Wars. So it's curious to see him then differentiate the two.